Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author, artist, serial entrepreneur, and technology consultant Tiffany Richardson. Based in Virginia Beach, Virginia, she is the creator of mixed media artwork, which includes bright and bold colored abstract acrylic paintings, digital artwork that features African American women, and ocean-themed functional art pieces. She is also a public speaker, published author, and business strategy and content consultant. Tiffany holds a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship from Norfolk State University. She is the founder of Artisan-Preneur Consulting LLC, which provides comprehensive solutions for entrepreneurs and small businesses looking to leverage AI technology for improved productivity, efficiency, and revenue growth. Enjoy this interview.
But hey, thank you for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So before we get into your life and kind of what makes you who you are, I want to know how you survived the last couple of years plus with COVID. How did you get through that time period? And how has it changed the way that not only you live your life, but the way that you approach business now that the world's kind of waking up?
Let's see. How did I get through COVID? Well, at the beginning of COVID, actually about 2 months prior, I just graduated with my bachelor's. And I had just started a new job at the university I graduated from, Norfolk State University here in Norfolk, Virginia. And so in addition to kind of being excited about that and realizing that I now had a remote position that was supposed to be in person, and I felt like I got some time off. At first, it was good, but then kind of a panic set in, and I had already had a business at the time, and it literally just shut down. And so that excitement about the new job and working remotely, like kind of almost immediately went away. Because I realized like my business I was going to have to close my business. Thank God I'm really good at thinking on my feet and pivoting. And, I started making face masks with my family, and I was able to scale that business in like 30 days, and we're financially safe. And during the pandemic, I kind of went up and down because I have anxiety. I have anxiety disorder, and I couldn't see any of my doctors or anything like that. And so I got into painting. And with my kids helping me and my husband being around and my immediate family, my brother and sister, my mom, being very close, I was kind of able to take what I know about business and apply it to what I was doing. And so during the pandemic, I started a whole new business as an artist. And I was able to, there was about 30 days where it felt like I was getting a divorce from my previous business. I actually went to Louisiana to New Orleans and took a hiatus from business in general and almost from life. But other than that kind of divorce and the ups and downs of trying to figure out what to do, I started a new business. And I came out of the pandemic actually getting divorced from one business and marrying a new business and, kind of working through the nitty-gritty of, starting a business and being an early-stage entrepreneur. So there were a lot of ups and downs, but I actually came out of the pandemic fairly well in a business sense.
It sounds like it. So let's kind of get a better handle on exactly what you do day to day. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day. And one of the kids looks up, okay, and they're going to say, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that child?
That's actually a good question because I work with the school system here in Virginia Beach, and I'm not around third graders. I'm around sixth graders. And so I would say the same thing to the third graders that I say to my students. I have two businesses. I have two jobs. My first business, I'm an artist. I paint, and I sell those paintings to my community, people in my community. The second thing I do is I teach people that want to be entrepreneurs and business owners how to work in their business easier. It sounds very elementary, but for third graders, I help entrepreneurs make their jobs easier by teaching them how to use technology online. So that's how I would explain it to a third grader.
It's interesting. I definitely see eye to eye with professions you do, along with podcasting. My day job, I'm an IT technician for a school district, and
Okay.
I paint and I write, and I remain pretty busy. My main bread and butter is jazz radio, but I'm curious with you, there's a lot of things that go into who you are. You have a right-left brain thing going on. Go back to your childhood and talk to me a little bit about how these seeds were planted in you that grew into all of these desires and for you to be this driven.
Well, I didn't start with visual arts. I started in music and dance. When I was in elementary school, actually before elementary school, I was singing. I don't know a time when I was not singing, and I was encouraged and pushed by my mother. I was put in pageants. I was put in the church choir. I sang the national anthem as an elementary school kid many times. And so I was always singing. I was always immersed in music, in dance and things like that. So that's where the artistic side comes from. And I was personally introduced to visual arts when my brother began sketching and drawing and things like that. And so, I had always thought that I was not good at visual arts until, like I said, during the pandemic. But long story short, when I was a child, I was always in the arts. In terms of business, I always wanted to be like my grandparents, more specifically my grandmother. She was an entrepreneur. She owned her own daycare. And she also did many things. She was very well known, very active in her community. She traveled a lot, and she helped a lot of people. And that's what I wanted to do. My grandfather, the way I viewed him when I was younger was, which I still do, is he always took care of his family. I had never seen or heard him or my grandmother, worrying about money. They always had money. And so I used them as a bar for my life. I always wanted to create something that would enable me to always be able to take care of my family, regardless of whoever else, was contributing to our household. I always wanted to make sure that I at least, was contributing to my community, was contributing to the family, and I was doing something that allowed my grandkids to look at me the way that I look at my grandparents. So that's the environment that I was brought up in.
So who would you consider a hero for you?
My grandfather. When I was little, I would always tell people Abraham Lincoln. I don't know why. It's weird. But my grandfather. Because regrettably, I did not, when I was younger, even though I put my grandparents as a whole on a pedestal and my grandmother on a pedestal, I didn't really know my grandmother that well. And she passed away right after I had my son in 2007. My son was born in 2006, late 2006. And so she passed away in 2007. And as an adult, I wasn't able to really get to know her and understand her mindset and where she came from. And so now that I'm older and I understand the value of time and relationships, I talk to my grandfather a lot. And I really want to be like him when I grew up. Even though I just turned 36 last Saturday, when I grew up, I want to be like my grandfather. Very dedicated, very committed, responsible. I mean, he has a grit that you see in movies. And so he's my hero.
So let's take the hero concept just a step further. If you could meet anybody on the planet and spend a little time with them, who would it be?
My grandmother. It would be her. And I know that a lot of people may say, somebody in history, but it would be my grandmother, because I have this insatiable appetite for knowing where I come from. And being African American, I already kind of feel like I don't. And I feel like the best place to start is with my grandparents. And unfortunately, I was not mature enough to be able to digest or be able to go to my grandmother and sit down and have a conversation with her to understand where she came from and to understand where her family came from. And so that would be the one person that if I could bring back would be my grandmother.
So what is it that motivates you every day? You obviously have a myriad of things that you're involved with. You're very highly driven. What is it that really gets you going and helps you through the day?
My kids. I know, a lot of parents say, I want my children to have what I didn't have. I want my children to have what I had. As a child, I grew up in a large house. I had my own room until my sister came along. But yeah, siblings. But even when my sister and I stayed in a room together, our room was huge. I mean, I had a reading nook. I had space for myself. I had my own personal space. We weren't living on top of each other. And literally, one thing that my motivation is two-sided. One thing that I used to remind myself every day when I was in the Navy was I'm doing this so that anytime my son needs something or wants something, I don't have to think about what bills do I need to pay. And then do I have enough money left over? And then the second one is being able to provide a house that allows my children to have enough personal space where they're not on top of each other. And so really those are the two things that motivate me. I guess it's security and just making sure that I can give not just, the basic necessities to my kids, but I want to be able to give them literally anything they want.
So how do you quantify a good day? At the end of the proverbial day, how do you look back and say that worked?
If I got something done, 100%. I have a bad habit of, like right now, I have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I have 11 tabs open on my computer. I'm doing literally 4 things between those 11 things. When I get at least one thing done 100%, then I know that I accomplished something in that day. So that's how I define success in 24 hours.
So for all of the things that you do, what's been one of the best fan letters or best responses you've gotten from somebody based on your work?
In terms of consulting and coaching, I had a client win a $5,000 grant and was able to secure an event with the city of Virginia Beach that I believe has a budget of over $100,000. And he came to me and he gave me a hug. And he almost cried. At least that's what I saw. He almost cried, and he just kept thanking me. And that's the best feeling ever on the consulting and coaching side, when I see that I've actually helped someone achieve something or do something tangible. That has been one of the best reactions. In terms of art, I've had two things. I've had a young lady who was 14. She came up to me, and she has been following me for the past 5 years, I believe. And she's a freshman in high school now, and she came to me recently in November and saw me at a show in Virginia Beach and said, I love your booth setup. I've watched you grow up, and I just wanted to let you know that I started my own photography business because of you. And I almost cried. That's a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
So those are the things that really make me, that's another, motivation for me as a business person and as a creative is not money that I'm making really, even though that's really important to me. What really gets me is when I'm able to tangibly help people.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, those that consume your art, your services, clients, colleagues, but you ultimately live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
This is what I think. People disagree with me all the time. I'm super shy. I don't like talking to people I don't know. And I'm super goofy and silly. And I have a very inappropriate sense of humor because of the Navy. I think I'm just like an overall outgoing, very squirrely, meaning I can't focus, type of person. I feel like I'm always trying to help people. And I have a bad habit of thinking that I don't help people as much as I think I actually do. And so I'm always trying to one-up myself with the next person because I feel like I haven't done enough for people in the past. So that's kind of my mindset of who I am and all that jazz.
So Tiffany, if anybody wants to learn more about you, get your paintings, services, anything related to your world, where do they go?
They would go to my website, which is www.artisan-preneur.com. Preneur is literally like the end of the word entrepreneur. And it would be the same website, except for instead of .com, it would be consulting if they were interested in coaching and consulting.
Perfect. Tiffany, hey, thank you for opening up. Thanks for taking time out. Good luck with the rest of the year. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.